roll with this. All right, everyone, I appreciate your patience with those technical issues. We've figured out a workaround and just about to start 1 minute. While we're doing that, I will go ahead and introduce myself. I am Dr. Turner. I am the Social Science Data and Research Librarian here at FSU Libraries. I am a sociologist by training and got over 15 years of experience doing sociological research as well as working with SPSS. And that is the topic for today's workshop. So if you're not familiar, well, hopefully you know why you joined, but if you're not familiar with SPSS, it is the statistical package for the social sciences. I'm sure the screen came up. Good, okay. Statistical package for the social sciences. And you may have heard of others like SAS and Stata. We have access to all of them, but I really like SPSS because it's the first software that I learned way back when. And also it is very user-friendly, very intuitive. A lot of people use it and it continues to be updated annually, and a large community of people who are using it. So it's great for those reasons. I will share a few other reasons why I encourage you to use it. And today I'm going to be talking about how to get started with SPSS and doing some basic, like some basic first task, like getting your data into SPSS, cleaning your data, recoding variables, things like that, and then running some basic statistics. Okay, so you've heard my why I like using SPSS, but also there are a few other reasons. Like I said, it's very intuitive. I like that it has drop-down menus and point-and-click features where you don't need to know syntax or how to code, especially in SPSS. But if you do learn it, there are benefits to that. And then it plays nicely with other programs like Qualtrics or importing data from Excel. It has lots of functionality, lots and lots of tools. And again, you can get data from many different sources, CSV files, other spreadsheets, text files, and as well as it plays nicely with other software programs like Stata and SAS. Other great reasons, it can do some visualizations, publication quality visualizations, and again, you can work with different types of data. I already mentioned that it plays nicely with other software, but it also plays nicely across different operating systems. And you know, because a lot of people use it, it's got a lot of documentation. Like I said, a large community of people who use it. Now that I've sold you on SPSS, how can you get SPSS? We have access, we have a license here. We have a license for SPSS, but you have to access it through my FSU VLab. So that is the virtual lab. And it's basically like a virtual desktop that has a lot of different programs on it, as you will see. And I will show you. You can search for my FSU VLab or have the link. Access to the link, I will share it with you. And I encourage you to follow along with me and try these things out together. So this is the VLab. And if you've never used the VLab before, it's going to ask you to sign in. It's going to authenticate you through Duo. I signed in earlier, so I don't have to do that again. And see, maybe you don't see, if you were to go and click on apps, you'll see all of the software that we have access to, lots and lots and lots of stuff, which is amazing that we have all of these things. And you don't have to subscribe to everything. And here are a few that I pinned as my favorites, including, there it is right there, the first one, IBM SPSS Statistics version 29. And so I'm going to click on that. You see it is launching. So what you need to know about the VLab as a virtual desktop, it's almost like a virtual remote desktop that you can log into and have access to all of the software. But in doing so, it comes with a few additional layers than if you were just using SPSS on your own. So it's still loading. We see this blue screen. You see the IBM SPSS symbol. Let's give it a moment to open. Here it is. And we have version 29. We typically update the license and version every year. And when you get to it, if you have something like this, you probably don't have auto recovery files, but you'll see that it's asking you, like many programs when you start, what file do you want to open? And so I could go to, I'm looking at this menu at the bottom, restore points, recent files. We're going to go to sample files. Before we get into the sample files, I want to tell you a little bit about the sample files we'll be using. Okay, so when you go through the VLab, you get to this opening screen, and again, you want to go to sample files. You'll see recent files, you'll see sample files. You go to sample files, and if you want to follow along and play along with me, we're going to be using one called survey_sample. There are lots and lots and lots of sample files, which is pretty cool because you can just come in here and practice, and these are actual data sets. They're actual data sets, but like the sample file we're going to be using, it is an older data set. It's actually 1998 data from NORC's General Social Survey. If you've ever heard of GSS, they do the GSS every year. But I really like it because it's very social science oriented. And so we're going to play with the sample file today, but I'm also going to show you how to import your own data or create a file from nothing. So here we go. We go back to our opening screen. So you see I'm under sample files and they're in alphabetical order. So I'm going to scroll down to the S's, and here it is, survey_sample.sav. SPSS files all have the same file. Well, not all. Many SPSS files have that file extension .sav. That's the data file. I'm going to show you the difference between the other types of SPSS files. But for now, we want survey_sample.sav and then tell it to open. Now we wait for it to open. It opens in kind of a minimized screen. So I'm going to just maximize that so that you can see it a little bit better. And you see I've got a screen full of data here. And I'm going to come back to the actual data. While we're talking about how to get started, I want to show you a few other ways. Most likely, you will be importing your own data, whether that's a data set that you have acquired somehow, so secondary data for you, or maybe it's primary data that you generated through perhaps Qualtrics, which we also have access to. And so if you wanted to pull your data from Qualtrics, so after you've completed a survey, if you go into Qualtrics and look under data and analysis, it gives you an option to import and export. And if you go to export, you can export it as a CSV file, you can export it as an Excel file, but Qualtrics even lets you export as an SPSS file. And if you were to click on that, it would give you a file in that .sav format. And so this is the part where it gets a little fun and a little interesting, because working with the VLab, remember, just think about, this is like, imagine a computer in the library basement that has all of this amazing software on it, but you can only access it virtually. And so you have to think about, getting your data onto that computer and getting your data off of that. So now that you are looking at SPSS through the VLab, you'll always see this little semicircle at the top with the little hamburger menu. When you hover over it, it turns into this symbol. That's the symbol for Citrix or the VLab. And so when you click on it, see other menu options. And so one is for full screen, one is to download, and one is to upload. So in order to work with your own data, you have to first upload it into the virtual computer before you can open it in SPSS. And same thing when you finish working with your files, or you want to, if you manipulate your file, or if you have output, you want to download it to get it off of the virtual computer before you finish your session. So I'm going to go to upload, and it's asking me, you know, where I want to get the data from, because I know it's in my downloads. Not in my downloads because I saved it on another device. Okay. Before I do that, I'll come back because I have it in the download as a zip file. When you get it from Qualtrics, it is zipped, and I'm going to unzip it so that I can get the actual data file. And let's try this again. So we'll go to hover over this thing, get the menu, upload. So to get your data into the virtual lab, you need to upload it. And here it is. Download. So I'm going to say open. Now my Qualtrics sample survey, also, I called it sample survey or survey sample. So it has the same name. Don't let that confuse you. Just for this, this is just for demonstration purposes. We're going to do all of our playing and analyzing in the sample. So you get this menu. Where do you want to upload it to? Even though you see my name here, I find that it's easier to find if I upload it to my desktop. And so I'm going to click on desktop and say, okay. All right. And that's it. Well, that's not it, but that's it for the upload. And so now when I want to open a new file, go to open data document, and now I have to find it. And so I know it's under my account. And if I go under desktop, there it is, sample survey. I downloaded today, October 10th. Open. Voila. That's how you get your data from Qualtrics, or really anywhere. If you wanted to import, it doesn't have to be a .sav file. It could be you importing an Excel file or another CSV file, but that's how you do it. Upload it to the virtual lab and then open it from SPSS. Since I don't need this one, that was just for demonstration purposes. I'm going to close that one. And now I only have the survey sample, the GSS data that we're going to work with together. Alternatively, if I went to File, New, Data, it gives me a blank data file, data editor, where I could type in variables, type in data. Like if you wanted to manually enter the data, this is how you would do it. I could come here and give my columns some names. Maybe I don't type directly into it. And what we are looking at is the data editor. And so I'm just typing here just so you get a sense of, you know, what this looks like. But then if I go to variable view, and I can come back and name these variables and say, this is participant ID. This one is for sex. This one is for age. This one is for race. And this one is for income. All right. And then go back to my data view. And then you could just go ahead and input your data going across or however you want to do it. So 3 different ways. Either you can use a sample file, you can import your own data, or you can create a new data file directly by typing into the data. So I'm going to close this one. Not going to save it because I didn't really do anything. And then from here on out, we'll focus on this survey sample, the GSS data. Okay. Now, make sure I didn't skip over any important steps. Now that we're finally in SPSS, I mentioned the .sav file. One of the great things about SPSS is that even though it has different windows and different file types, they're kind of color coded. And so it always, one of the ways you know you're in SPSS because they use these like color coded plus sign, like a little, oh, I don't know what to call the rest of the symbol, but you see one is red, one is orange, one is blue. And so the red one that will be working in the most is the data editor. All right, it looks like the spreadsheet. It looks like what you would expect. Okay, when we start to run an analysis, a new window will open up, and that is the output window. And that's the one with the blue icon. And if you were to save that file, it will be a .spv file. Okay. And if you prefer to write the syntax, like SPSS special commands and code, you would have that orange syntax file, and its file extension is .sps. We're not going to write syntax today. We're going to work with the data editor, and we're going to work with the output windows. But just know that you've got these 3 different file types, so don't be alarmed when you see different ones. But the main one is the data editor that we will manipulate. Okay, I'm going to go back and show you what I'm going to say the real data, the real sample data, but I just want to tell you what you're going to see, which you might have already seen just now. We'll have in the data editor, a data view and a variable view, and they do exactly what you think they do. So let's go ahead and here. Okay. It opens up in data view. And so you see all the data on the screen. All right, this is great. And then you see for the column headings, those are the variables. And you see little symbols associated with them. And let's talk about them. So I'm switching over to the variable because this is where you can input data about your data. And so you see that each variable has a name. All right, so that's this first column. And then the type of data. SPSS takes or creates numeric data and string data. And I'm gonna break all this down in just a second. I guess I'll talk about a few columns and then we'll come back to that. The width is how many numerals. So a better example. All right, here we go. I wanted to basically have everything here with the definition. So what you need to know, especially if you are creating your own file or importing a file, because we're using the sample file, it's very neat and clean and already organized. But the real world doesn't often work that way, and you would have to do a little cleaning and organization yourself. And so what you need to know is that first column for the name is exactly what you would think it is. It is the name of the variable. All right. This is important because every variable name must be unique. It can't have any spaces, but you should be able to look at it at a glance to know what it is. And just, I like to have my variable names in like all capital letters because it's easy for me to distinguish that way. And that's not the same as the variable labels. Let me switch back and show you. Okay, so the variable name should be short. So this is this column. They should be short and you should pretty much know what it is when you see it. Like educ, EDUC. All right, I don't have to type out the whole word. I don't have to try to put in highest education attainment or highest degree received. But when I see that variable name EDUC, that's the variable about education. And if you hop over a few columns, just because you're doing a very short, very intuitive variable name doesn't mean you can't have more information, but where you want to put that more information is in the label. And so you see here, what is that educ variable, highest year of school completed. And so label is where you want to put more info. If you have a questionnaire, maybe you want to put, whatever question it was that was asked, you can do that in the label column. But for the variable name, no spaces, keep it short, keep it brief, and you are limited to a certain number of characters. I don't remember how many, but I want to say 15. Maybe less than. The next thing that you'll see after name is the type of data. Remember, I just said most common types are numeric and string, which is basically numbers and text. There are a few other types, but again, numeric and string are the most common ones that you will use. And then the width is how many characters that variable can have. So for example, like the examples I have here, 55, the width of that is 2 because there's 2 characters. FSU, width of that is 3 because there are 3 characters. Okay, decimals, how many decimals, how many digits appear to the right of the decimal. The label I already talked about. And then the values. This will make the most sense when I go back to this. Back. All right, values. So stick with this education variable. If you were to come over here to values, there's happened really fast. Let me do that again. Really all of these columns, if you not all of the columns, all of the rows in this values column, if you hover over it, you'll see these 3 dots. If you click on those 3 dots, it opens up to tell you what the value labels are. And so here I've got the values 97, 98, and 99. And that's designating something very specific. So I want to skip, go to highest degree. So you see the values 0, less than high school, 1, high school, so on and so on. And so you want to, even though you can enter text and enter string data, you want to have numeric values associated with your variables because SPSS, statistical package, it needs the numbers to run the statistics. But like you see here, even though I give it a value, I can still, have that value be representing something else. And so rather than, try to type in high school, junior college, bachelor, I can tell it that 1 equals high school, 2 equals junior college, and so on. And then if you're typing in, you want to add a new one, set this plus sign over here. I don't need that, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the X or delete. And then I'm just going to cancel this here because I don't need that right now. Same thing for these other values. All right, you want to be sure you've got a numeric value associated with whatever it is, and then you can add the label. Now for the education one that we were looking at, I told you that 97, 98, 99 meant something very particular. And those are the values associated with missing data, which you see in the next column. But SPSS doesn't know unless you tell it what values are associated with missing data. Like this first column, first row, for participant ID, there is no missing data because every participant is going to have some ID. All right, and then for like marital status, if I click over this, there aren't, there's a discrete number of values that it could be, 1 through 5. And if it's none of these are not applicable, it would be 9. So that is here, you can see. But then the 97, 98, 99. So 97, so this is however the researcher decides to code it. But here it's coded as 97 if they skipped that question or didn't answer it, 98 if they don't know, 99 if 99 is that not applicable. All right, and this is one of the things that you will have to tell it what to do with the missing data. So there are various examples in this survey, this sample file, about how they do that. Columns, it doesn't really matter much. The alignment is up to you. It doesn't really matter much, but it's right by default. The last 2 columns that we need to know measure? What level of measurement? And so if you're familiar, or if you remember from statistics, that the 4 levels of measurement are nominal, ordinal, interval, and ratio. Well, in SPSS, you have 3 options: nominal, ordinal, and scale. And scale combines interval and ratio together. And I'm going to show you in just a second how you know the difference between those. But while I'm on the screen, I want to talk about the role. So by default, every role for your data set is listed as input. And that role is related to the role that the variable plays in the analysis. So input for independent variables. You can change that role here if you need to, if you want to, and you have a few options where input for the independent variable, target for the dependent variable, or if that variable can be either the independent or the dependent, you can tell it both or none. Okay, and that's mostly what you'll be working with. And then let me go back to here. What was I? Level of measurement. That's what I wanted to talk about. So nominal, ordinal, or scale. So how do you know if you have a nominal variable? How do you know if you have an ordinal variable? How do you know if you have a scale variable? Here is a very helpful decision tree. Okay. So first question you should ask yourself, for that variable, do the attributes cover all possibilities without overlapping? It should be exhaustive. Okay. And so if you say no, if the answer to that is no, that means it's not even a nominal variable. If it's yes, then you have to ask yourself the next question. Can they be arranged in a natural order from low to high? If they cannot be arranged from low to high, then it is nominal. If it can be, then you ask yourself, do these attributes form a numeric scale? Okay. And so if the answer is no, then we know it's ordinal. Okay. Ordinal variables like highest educational attainment. There is a natural order to how these things are normally listed. Like in the sample survey, less than high school, junior college, bachelor's degree, so on. Okay, so that would be cool. And then if you cannot use a numeric scale with it, then we know it is interval or ratio, aka scale in SPSS. Okay, so you have to know, should know your level of measurement, preferably before you generate the data. But if not, at least know so that you know which types of statistical tests you can perform with which types of data. Okay. Now, if you import data or you create data and you need to change the variable type, that is very simple for you to do. Go back to screen. So here, if I wanted to change, so marital status. So this isn't about the values, but more so the labels. And you see these are married, widowed, divorced, separated, never married, or not applicable, missing. There is no natural order to these variables. So we know that they are at the nominal level. And did we cover all the options? Yeah, because it also includes that NA. So we know that all options are covered, it's exhaustive, and there's no particular order to this. So we know that it is a nominal variable. So I'm just gonna go out of here. And so here it's listed as nominal, but if I needed to change, all I would have to do is to go here, choose another one. Okay. And okay. Variable labels, I'm gonna come back to because I have a way to show you those. I showed you how to add an additional one or take one away, but I'm gonna share another example. And then for the missing value, like I said, you as the researcher get to decide what level of missingness, but you have to tell SPSS what the missing values are, okay? So Negative 99, negative 98, negative 97 are recognized by SPSS as missing values. And you could tell it what each of those mean. For example, 99 for did not answer, 98 for not applicable, 97 for don't know. And it's important that you tell it, which one is which. And go back to show you how to do that. Those are here in this column, missing. All right, I think I already showed you, I remember this first example, but here. Discrete missing values. So like the first one with ID, every person who takes the survey, even if they don't finish the survey, they're always going to have an ID. All right, so there will be no missing values for that one, which is why it says none, and you could designate no missing values. And then for everything else, the other variables, you can tell it exactly what the missing values would be. All right, discrete missing values, and you see they're here, 97, 98. Right, and that is really important for your analyses because it needs to know. It needs to know which, how to read the data. Okay. I'm going to come back to saving. Let's actually create something before we save it. Now we get to the fun part, these drop-down menus. One of the reasons I really like SPSS because it's really simple to run these analyses. So let's get started. Let's explore this data a little bit. Let's play around and have some fun. So when I'm looking at, or right now I'm looking at the variable view, which it doesn't matter if I'm looking at data view or variable view. But of course, you want to get familiar with your data just from the start. For example, we were talking about this educational variable, but the next variable you see is PA Educ, which is highest year of school completed by father, Ma Educ, highest year of school completed by mother. So I just want to know, what my variables are before I start to play around with them. And from either screen, from the data view or the variable view, you notice that this menu across the top doesn't change. And so we can go to Analyze. And then from here, we get this drop-down menu. Most of what you'll be doing will be under descriptive statistics or correlate if you want to do correlation or maybe regression. I'm going to go back up to descriptive statistics again because we're just exploring. I can go to frequencies, I can go to descriptives, or I can go to explore. I like to do cross tabulation a lot. So let's start with descriptives. Another box will pop up. Now that I told it I wanted the descriptives, I have to tell it which variables I want the descriptive statistics on. And so I don't need descriptive statistics on respondent ID. And one of the cool things about this menu is you see I'm looking at it and it's telling me the variables label. And let's see, if I right click on it, it'll say I can display variable names instead. I think this might be the default, but if you get this and you say, well, this is not telling me enough information, this is why I was saying you want to name your variable something where, when you look at that name, that variable name, it's intuitive what that is. But just in case, it's not working for you, all right, right click on it and then say display variable labels instead. You see you have a few other options. If you know the variable you're looking for, tell it to put it in alphabetical order to make it easier for you to find. Otherwise, it's going to be in the same order in which it was imported, which is probably the order of the questions on your survey. So I'm going to go back to variable labels, and then just to get a sense of who was responding to my survey, I'm going to go ahead and throw some variables in here. So if you click on it, you can hit this button to move it to the right box for variable. Another thing that you could do is, like here, I've got highest degree, gender, and race. I can click on one and hold down the shift key all the way down to race if I want everything from from the first thing I clicked on to the last thing. If I want all of that stuff, I can hit shift and throw them all in the box on the right. And yeah, that's enough for now. We'll have 4 variables we'll look at. Go to options and then tell it what descriptive statistics you want. I definitely want the mean. I don't need the sum. I'll take standard deviation. I want to know the minimum. I want to know the maximum. Range is unchecked, but I want the range because when you are exploring your data, you want to be able to see if you're expecting responses from 1 to 5, and then you look at your data and you see the responses range from 1 to 55, then you know it's probably some error, especially if it's manually input data where maybe somebody accidentally hit the 5 button twice, but you need to know that. And so range will tell me if anything is out of the range that I would expect. And then I could also, if you are expecting a normal distribution, then maybe you want to look, ask it to look for kurtosis or skewness. And then I'll just leave the variable list in that same order, and I'll hit continue, and then you have to hit OK to run it. And bam, a new window pops up, our output window. And so this is what I was telling you earlier about the data editor and its red plus sign symbol up in the corner. That's how you know you're in the data editor, but the output has that blue symbol. So I'm going to maximize this. It didn't show before because we didn't have any output. So now we've got output. And so I've got descriptive statistics about what I just shared. So marital status, the N for the number of people who completed this question. And so one of the other things I'm looking at is if I expect a certain number of people have completed my survey, looking at the N, compare the N across these variables, you see that they're not the same. And why aren't they the same is because some have missing values. And so if there's something that has a lot of missing values, like I expect these numbers to be, pretty similar. 2,831, 2,822, 2,832. But if I saw something really odd, like a number maybe like 1,700, that is a ton of missing data. Something probably went wrong there. And that tells me there's something I need to investigate. Okay. The range. So if you recall that marital status could be from 1 to 5, you select something from 1 to 5. So give me a range of 4. And so you want to be sure that nothing, you don't have any outliers here. What you would expect, the minimum value and the maximum value. And then I've got my mean and I've got my standard deviation. So just exploring just to see what we have here. I can run more analyses right from the output, or I can go back to my data editor. Let's try 2 more. I'm going to do cross tabulation, and I can tell it exactly what I want in the row and what I want in the column. And so I want to have, let's put marital status in a row, put number of children in a column, and then I can add more rows. Maybe I want to put age because it's going to be too many. Let's put degree. And yeah, okay, that's enough for now. And then I can ask it to run some statistics. I can tell it, what I want while I do these cross tabulations. I want chi-square here, or depending on what level of measurement my data is on, I can choose some of these correlation statistics. I'm not going to do that for now. And let's say, okay, see what happens. So when you start to run analyses, you always get a case processing summary at the top that tells you, the N, and it tells you the percent, valid percent, which is how many are non-missing, okay? And it tells you exactly how many are missing from each cross tabulation. And then we can scroll down a little bit and actually see cross tabulation. So cross tabulation is exactly what it sounds like, letting me look at 2 variables, the intersection of 2 variables. not just the variables, but the attributes of the variable. So here, I've got marital status in rows and number of children. So if this first row, I look across for married folks, all right, how many married folks have 0 children, 1 child, 2 children, and so on and so on, all right? And then the same thing for the other categories. So it's sometimes cool to get like a at a glance of your, really the intersection of your variables in this way. And then if I scroll down a little bit more, I have the results of my chi-square test. And then that was one cross tabulation. That was marital status and number of children. Scroll down to the next one. Highest degree and number of children. You read it the same way. And then a chi-square test under that. All right. So that is one that you might like to use. I'll go back to analyze. I'll go to descriptive statistics. We did descriptives. I'm just going to run frequency. Let's scroll to some other variables. Hours per day watching TV. Haven't looked at that variable, so interesting to see what comes up. Maybe I'll also get my descriptive statistics. All of these. I'll tell it what statistics I wanted to run. Remember, this is for frequencies, not the descriptives. And so I want the mean, I want the median, I want the mode. I really don't have much use for the sum. I could also get standard deviation, the minimum, maximum, variance, range, and all of that, but I'm going to keep it short for now and tell it to go ahead and run this. And while we're looking at the output, you'll see that all of this analyses that I've run are in the same window. But if you need to go back, like maybe I want to go back to my very first descriptives, you've got a navigation pane on the left, or if I go back and click descriptives, it'll take me right back to the top. Now, we never got to look at our frequencies, so I'm going to go back to the frequencies at the bottom just by navigating here. It's really helpful. The more you explore and the more analyses you run, that you can just, hop around this way. So here are my statistics about the variables I asked for. So again, you want to compare, the valid ones, so the ones that are not missing, and how many are missing. Okay, so I see 495 responses are missing from this one particular variable, hours per day watching TV. And so now that makes me curious. I can go here and explore it a little bit more. And so it looks like the range from 0 to 21 hours in a day. And how many people, the frequency, how many people said each of these answers, okay? One person that watches TV 21 hours a day. One of the things I want to point out here is you've got frequency, which is the number of times that response appeared, so the number, and then the percentage. All right, so there's 2 percentages here, percent and valid percent, actually 3, percent, valid percent, and cumulative percent. So the percent is, if you know how to calculate basic percent, is the frequency of this response divided by the number of total responses. And the difference here between percent and valid percent is that percent is divided by, let's see, how many, so 2,337. And the valid percent is going to subtract, oh wait, I got that wrong. How many total would be 2337 plus 495. So the total number of people who took the survey, but the valid percent is the ones without the missing data. And so 119 divided by 2,337 times 100 to get that valid percent. And then cumulative percent, you see the cumulative percent is the same as valid percent, but only in this first row. Cumulative is doing exactly what it said. So this is helpful because I know that 5 0.1% of people watch TV 0 hours a day. So then if I go to the next line, I know 21.4% people watch TV 1 hour a day. But maybe I want to know how many people watch TV 0 to 2 hours a day. I can just come to this 2 row and see 53.9%. Cumulative percent is adding as it goes along. So as you go down that column, by the time you get to the bottom, it should be 100%. So when I say how many people watch TV 0 to 2 hours a day, I can just look right here, 53.9. Or if I wanted to know how many people watch TV for, say 5 hours or less a day, come right here to 91. So that's pretty cool, pretty helpful. For gender, the other variables I asked for, I can see, the frequency percent, valid percent, cumulative percent. Hopefully that is clear. And I want to show you one other thing first before I keep playing with the data. Something that you might have to do as you explore your data is to do some transforming or recoding your variables. For example, if I go to analyze and I want the frequencies for, let's see, I can take all of this stuff out and all out the back on the left, and I only want age of respondent. The reason I didn't get this one before is because I knew that because there's so many different ages. You see how long I'm scrolling. All right, that's a lot. It's a lot to try to look at. It, even if I maximize the window, it's a lot. Rather than do that, what I want to do is transform this age variable. So if I go on my menu, transform, I want to create a new variable that instead of having individual ages, has age groupings. And so I'm going to say recode into different variables. Okay. While I'm thinking about this, once you are playing with your data and working with your data, be sure that you save it with a new file name, because you never, ever, ever want to write over your raw data. Okay, so you want to be sure once you start making these manipulations, even if you're cleaning your data, that you preserve your raw data file and then have this other data file with maybe a name, maybe the date, use file management best practices, but so that you know how it's distinct from your raw data and you don't write over your raw data. Okay, so I'm telling it input variable is age of respondent, okay? And then I want to give it a new name. I'm going to call it age. And then the label for that is age groupings, okay? And then I can tell it what I wanted to recode. What are the old values that I want to become the new values? Because I'm trying to do age ranges, if it was only like marital status and I wanted to just make them new variables, there's only 5 categories. That would be pretty simple. But for the ranges, I'm going to make these ranges pretty large. I'm going to say from, I don't think anyone under 18 took the survey, but just in case, I'm going to say from 15 to, let's say 15 to 19. All right. And that is going to be 1. So I click add, and that's my new grouping. And now can't have it overlap. So I can't go 19 to 29. I've got to go 20 to 29. And the value I'm going to assign to that is 2. And then click add. And then do one more, 30 to 39. The value is 3. And then 40 to 100. And I'm going to give that a value of 4 and click add. So you see my groupings here. Continue. And then it hasn't done anything yet. Okay. Now I want to hit change. Okay, so from age to age group, and then hit okay. I didn't see anything happen. Why not? Because I'm still looking at the output. So if I go back here to my data editor in variable view, because that's where I can have all the data about my variables. If you create new variables, they're at the bottom. So I'm scrolling to the bottom, and here it is, age group. And I know it's the one I created because I just created it, but also because I use all caps, and I can look to see, all right, what is here? Maybe I want to change the decimals to 0 like the other variables. I've got my label, age groupings. My values say none. What does that mean? So when I create this new variable, I can go ahead and say analyze, give me some frequencies about this new variable. So I'm going to take the old variable out and scroll all the way down to the bottom for age groupings, and then hit OK. And so here it is. I've got the statistics about it, and I've got it, but it's not telling me anything. 1, 2, 3, 4, and it gives me all the data about it. Well, why? Because I didn't assign values to it. So here it says none. I can go here and click on those dots. And that kind of fast, but those 3 dots right here, click on those, add. And so I know the first one is 1, and that was 15 to 19. And then I'll add another one, 2. That was 20 to 29. 3 was 30 to 39. 4, 40 to 100. Then I'm going to hit OK. Now they've got names. If I were to analyze and run that again, that frequency again, I'm just going to hit OK. It's already in there. And you see now it shows up with the labels. And so it's easier for me to read this. And then I could even, if I wanted to right click on this and, save it as an image or copy it as an image, or copy it or cut it and put it directly into a Word document or something else, I could do that. I can also save this entire output. But you'd be surprised at how often you have to recode variables. And so this is something that you want to do on the back end, like when you have your data, because you want your data in the greatest detail as possible. And so it doesn't, I want rich data. So when I create my survey, I'm not going to just start out asking for age groupings, because once you do that, you can't go back. If you get people to mark, what 10-year age grouping they're in, you can't go back and distinguish, who is 20 and who is 21. But if you start out with the very specific data, you can always group and combine categories later. Okay, so that's one of the things you might want to do when you're working in SPSS. Okay. Other than the recoding variables, that was like a 2-for-1, because we got to see about recoding and sharing, creating the label names. What else do I show you? So we talked about the menus, how to add things. We did some descriptive statistics. So frequencies and the descriptives. If you want to compare means, you've got a whole menu for that. Correlation, regression, menus for both of those as well. And then I talked about transforming variables. We've got these new variables, so that's good. So I will go back to this. Okay. Trying to think about what else you might do frequently. What I do, showed you frequencies, descriptives, crosstabs, compare means and proportion. We didn't do that, but if you are looking for your t-test and ANOVA, that's going to be in that menu. Correlation and regression. And while I'm here, I should go ahead and show you how to save both your data and your editor. Oh, we didn't do any visualization. So let's go to this menu top before we save it. You can do this from the output, or you can do this from the data editor. So I'm going to go to graphs. You've got a few options. If you already know what you want to create, I'm going to create, how about a bar chart? I want a bar chart. I want a simple bar chart. And it's asking me if I want summaries for groups of cases, summaries of separate variables, or values of individual cases. I can do this Well, let's try with the summaries, but then I'm thinking about the variable I just created where I already grouped them together, and then I would ask for values of individual cases. So let's see, simple bar chart. N is for the number of cases, and then I can tell it what I want in the row or column. And so I want, let's see if it will do, I wonder if it will do page, here it is. And this is supposed to create its own variables. One of the things that I didn't mention with using the VLab, it can be probably my biggest frustration because I'm not always on the big screen, but I've got this menu, but I can't see what's at the bottom here. So if you do this enough, you might know where to go. If you hit the tab key and follow it down. Now is where I can't see. So I think the options are probably, the first option is probably okay, or run or something like that. I don't remember and I can't see it. So if you have a larger screen, that's even better. And I can't really make it any bigger. Probably my biggest frustration with the VLab. Let's see. Okay, so that was probably the wrong button because it took my variable away. Let's try that one more time. I think it is thinking about it because it didn't do it. I'll try another one. See if I can get it on the screen. Same issue. Try this. What am I supposed to do? I gotta hit the cancel. Okay, one more time. Oops, not analyze. Analyze. I want graphs, pie chart. I will have my variable age groupings. I want each slice to represent those age groupings, the variable I created, the new variables I created. Getting a little closer here. I minimize from the top. You kind of see the top of the options bottom. Let's see. Try that one more time. Either. Two. Okay, something happened. It's good. One of the values of learning the syntax. I have no idea what button I just pushed, but it opened the syntax editor. Go back to that. And it asked me what I wanted to create. So symbol for pie, not the symbol, the syntax for pie chart and what the value would be. And I think it is building it. It says it's processing it. So it's going to appear in my editor. That's one benefit of learning the syntax. If you can't see the bottom of the drop-down menu, go to syntax. Type it in. All right, we're waiting on that to process. So while we're waiting on that to process, I'm going to show you how to save your file. I mentioned this earlier, but just like you have to upload to get your data into the VLab, you're gonna have to download to get your data out of the VLab. And because this is still processing my graph, I'm not going to save this output file just yet, but know that you have to save both your data editor file, which is the data file, and also your output file. All right. You saving one does not save the other. You have to save both. And my pie graph is still being created. So I'm going back to my data and I'm going to save this because it has that new variable. And so you see the icon at the top, save this document, or I can go to file and tell it how I want it to save. I don't want it to save over my raw data. So I'm going to hit save as, and I'm going to name it something else, survey sample with age groups. And then pay attention to where it saves, because just like you have to pay attention to where you upload the documents, you have to know where it is to download the document. So I see that it's going to be on my desktop with that other file that I imported earlier. Save it. Okay. And now to get it off of the VLab, you got to go back to this half semicircle hamburger menu that turns into this other symbol. And instead of upload, now we are downloading. Okay, but where am I downloading from? So this is the VLab. So I know I saved it under the desktop. And I'm going to go to, I remember what I called it, survey sample with age groups, and then open. And now it just downloaded it onto my my desktop, not the virtual, my desktop. And then I can go find it later and put it where I want it. Not my desktop, my downloads. It's in my downloads. I can find it. Now, output, no graph yet, but we'll keep moving on. Same thing, save the output. And if you want to save the syntax, you can save that as well. You've seen firsthand a reason why you should use the syntax. I kind of skipped over it earlier. So just to kind of tell you some of the benefits, I don't use the syntax, obviously, but people who use it swear by it, and why it's so much better than, just using the drop-down menus, because it basically saves the data file with all of the operations that you took. You can easily see if there's an error because it's color-coded. So errors are in red, all right, and things that are recognized are in blue, okay? And very helpful. So let me go, I can go back to the syntax, but before I do that, no, let's go in the. Okay, so here is what it's telling me to do in the syntax file. After you type it, you can hit run, run the selection, or if you want to see, I should just try to run this again. See if it does it that time. Doing something, processing something, and go back to slides there. Hold on, just realized I'm not sharing it. Okay. Back to slides here. Hopefully you did see or hear what I said about the syntax when I said it. And now we have learned how to basically do basic data exploration, understanding where to see the syntax. I'm skipping back ahead to where we were. Identifying the missing values, save the data file. Okay, that's the big one. Uploading and downloading is just the biggest thing with the VLab. No matter what software you're working in, if it's in vivo, SAS, Stata, whatever it is, that uploading and downloading process for the VLab is the same. All right, it's that virtual remote computer that you can't do anything until you upload and download. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about where do you go if you need more help, and also thinking about what questions you may have. If you register for this workshop, you'll get these slides. And I mentioned that because SPSS has been around for so long, it's got a lot of things you should know and things that can be helpful. And so You click on these when you get them. One of the big sources for help is ICPSR, and it tells you how to interpret your output. So if you want to know those statistical tests and what they mean, what is statistically significant, how you're going to write about your output, great guide for that. Another list of resources from UCLA, but we also have our own resources. And if you go to our catalog and search, share this new screen. So if you go, really, you can go and you can search in one search. You search there. And we've got books. We've got a really old user guide. It just depends on how you learn best. I'm going to go show you one other. And if you have questions, go ahead and queue those questions up and I can answer your questions. One of the great resources we have is Sage Search Methods. It should come right up if you type it, but if you don't want to type it, if you don't remember, if you go to search options and go to databases search, go to S's, and find, I'll show you both. Sage Campus hopefully is signed in. This is like an online learning platform where you can take courses on all sorts of things, including analyzing data. I don't know if they have any specific to SPSS, but definitely if you need to know how to clean your data or other types of analyses, let's see if they have anything specific. Nope. But if you go, so this is Sage Campus with the courses. Look at the menu at the top, research methods. Spend a lot of time here. A few cool tools that they have. They're a publisher that publishes a lot of books on various methods and statistics. And so if you want to learn about creating data visualizations, that tool there. If you need to know which stats tests to use in SPSS, you can use this tool to basically answer the questions. It asks you questions to basically figure out what you need to do. And I'm going to go back. And then, I guess we don't really need the methods, but I am going to go ahead and wrap up. So if you have questions, I'll answer those now. Otherwise, I'll give you a few minutes to take the survey, scan this code, take the survey. I'll also drop the link in the chat. Easier for you to do on the computer. And let me know what questions you have about getting started in SPSS. I'm also going to put my email address directly into the chat. So if you want to learn more, do more, ask questions, you know, there's only so much we can do in about an hour and 15 minutes. I can provide you additional assistance if you want to sit down and figure out, you know, how to run some of the statistics or get your data in the right format. We can do that. So just let me know. Thank you all for being here, and I'll give you a few minutes now to finish the survey. And if you have questions, you can unmute and ask those questions, or you can type those questions into the chat. Thank you all for being here. Be sure to check out our upcoming Data at Your Desk series workshops. I know at the end of the month on October 31st, there will be, I'll be teaching a workshop on In Vivo, which is qualitative data analysis software, whereas, you know, SPSS is quantitative data analysis software. And even not in the Data at Your Desk series, but other workshops like on Qualtrics, I teach a workshop on that. And so however I can help you with social science data and research, I am here to help. So you just let me know. As far as the recording being sent, the recording will not be sent out, but the recording will be posted. And while you are taking your survey, I guess I can show you. We typically do this workshop every semester. I think I can show you where. Go back to our website. If I'm not mistaken, I think it might also be hosted on our YouTube. Okay. If you go back to our main library page, lib.fsu.edu, and hit research guides, we might be under researcher's toolbox, research, data management. Sorry for my fast scrolling. Hope I'm not making anybody dizzy. Oh, it is under here. Okay, let me do that again because I know that was quick. So from the main library page, if you look here under research guides, and then very first thing that you'll always see is researcher's toolbox. Click on researcher's toolbox, and then under research data management, you'll see there is a menu option for data workshops. And then it tells you about our upcoming workshops, or really all the workshops for the semester. But then even for past workshops, so let's say this is fall 24, well, yeah, spring 24 will be the recent ones. It tells you what they are, but there should be also some recordings here. Yes. So maybe not up for spring, but like fall 23, intro to SPSS. Click here to view the recorded workshop. And then soon we'll have one up for fall 2024. And same sort of thing, just scroll down till you see it's on the left for past workshops. So the recording will be preserved. It won't be sent out, but it will be preserved. And because I try to teach this every semester, if you need the workshop sooner than it's posted, go back to fall 2023 and you can see that workshop. It still will cover the basics, and any gaps that I can fill in for you, just contact me. Any other questions that I can answer for you today? You can take this survey by scanning the code or using the link I put in the chat. Tell us what you liked or what you didn't like or what else you need to know. We offer this introductory workshop every semester, but if there's other things, if you are maybe in need of a different type of workshop, if you need something a little bit more advanced, if you need something a little bit more basic, let us know. We can try to cater to your interest, but we don't know unless you tell us. So please let us know what it is that you're looking for in the data workshop, and we can help you from there. Thank you for joining and attending this introduction to SPSS. And again, you have access to SPSS already. So I suggest you don't go for it, play with it. There's lots and lots of support for you to learn and do SPSS. So it's a great way to get started. Just realized that I posted the same link twice instead of survey link. You can scan the QR code or use the link that I just put in the chat. I apologize for that mix-up. And we've got a few more minutes. If you do have questions, you want to ask in the chat or unmute. While I'm thinking about wrapping up, this I could also show you, I just remember one other thing to tell you about working with the V Lab, especially using, where it's here. Okay, still no pie charts, but that's okay. And normally it does work. I think I might have just hit the wrong button and I couldn't see the bottom of the screen. But when you're working in the V Lab, so now that I've got all three, the data editor open, the output open, and the syntax editor open, I can close the syntax. It's going to ask me if I want to save it. I don't. Okay. But you definitely should, if you're writing syntax, save that syntax because that's where you get your reproducibility from. And it could be that, you know, one day you might share the data. You might also want to share the syntax so that people can follow the same steps that you took with the same data, or maybe even a different data set. Okay, and now I've got data editor and I've got the output. If I want to keep my exploration, all of these things that that we were just playing around. If I do want to keep those, save that file, of course, save it to the VLab and then download it from the VLab. And I'm going to say, no, I don't want to save that. Then that just leaves me with my data editor. And so it really doesn't matter the order that you do these things, but when you close the last SPSS window, the session ends. So be sure to save it before you close all these windows or before you accidentally hit X on these windows. It's going to ask me, it says closing the last data editor window will exit SPSS statistics. Do you want to proceed? Yes. And it's not just closing SPSS, it's closing my VLab session. And so I want to just be sure that you know when you hit that button, it's ending you. Now, thankfully, as you saw when we started, SPSS does have like an auto recovery feature, but I don't trust anything that much. So I'll save the files that I want. And this has totally logged me off the VLab now. And I could log back in if I want to use SPSS again. That's it. Don't forget to upload your files and download your files because that is key. That is essential. So this brings us to the end of the workshop. If you weren't able to scan this code or click on the link in the chat to take the survey, please do so now before the session ends. Thank you all for being here. Feel free to reach out to me if you need additional assistance with SPSS or social science data or just social science research. Thank you.